Hey guys, it's Vani from Mrs. Mom's Homeschool and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about 10 things I wish I knew when I first started homeschooling. Okay, so I started homeschooling about 5 years ago when my now 10-year-old was in the middle of kindergarten. If you want to find out why I started homeschooling, you can check out this video here. But so it's been about 5 years for us that we've been homeschooling, and there are so many things I wish I knew when I first started. So I want to share those with you guys who are new or who are considering homeschooling, to save you guys a lot of headache, heartache, and trouble. The number one thing I wish I knew was that my kindergartner didn't have to know everything. That my kindergartner, my 5-year-old, that my little kindergartner didn't need 5 hours of schoolwork. I put this child through so much work when she was little. She was like a little genius because I taught her, like, I was just getting like history and science and reading and writing and math. Like, I got every subject and everything, and she was only 5 years old. I felt like I had to compete with the schools and get her every single subject that, you know, I thought they were teaching, and she had to do her social studies, and she had to know all this stuff, and I would get all the books and say, like, what does your kindergartner need to know? And I was stressing myself out, stressing out my poor baby, trying to get her to do all this stuff at such an early age. And guess what? She doesn't remember any of it. So it totally wasn't even worth it. It wasn't worth the stress. All I did was make her hate school. I made her hate homeschooling until this year, in which we changed everything up. I've become so much more relaxed. I don't take everything. You guys have seen a lot of my videos, and you know I take education very important, but I'm not stressed out over it, and I don't stress my kids out over it. So that's my number one thing that I wish I knew when I first started homeschooling. Number two, I don't have to do 6 hours of school a day, or however many hours that the public schools do. So at first, when I first started, a lot of people assumed that my kids had to be in school like for 6 hours a day. Is that how long kids are in school? 6, 8? I don't know. But and you know, and I thought they had to do school at that time, and I didn't take into account that, first of all, it was just her and I one-on-one. I could do the same amount of work the kids at school can do in a couple of hours. And I don't have to worry about a rowdy class. I don't have to walk from class to class, or go outside for recess and have this break and walk from there and switch from this teacher to that teacher and deal with this kid and this kid's being naughty and this kid's doing that. It's just my child and I, so I can homeschool at a young age for an hour, and all the way up to, you know, 3 or 4 hours, and get everything done that I needed to do. Number three, I wish I knew that there wasn't one perfect curriculum. I switched from so many curriculums. I think I did like all of them. And I didn't do them all, but I did a lot. And we never finished a curriculum until this year. We finished our first language arts with the good and the beautiful. But every year we've switched science, we switched history, we switched everything. We haven't completed anything because I felt like, oh, this one was better than this one, or this one didn't have enough, or this one wasn't teaching what this one was teaching. And like, I just felt like I wish that I could just throw them all together and just teach my kids the exact thing that they needed to know. Then I learned that there isn't anything that they need to know. Obviously they need to learn math and reading and writing, but there isn't a specific way that they need to learn it. I had to remember that the perfect curriculum was the one that fit our family. And I wish I knew that when I first started. It would have saved me a lot of money. Number four, I don't need to teach every subject that the schools are teaching. I had to get away from my mind that homeschooling was school at home, that we had to sit at a desk, that I had to teach all the subjects that the schools were teaching the same amount of days and times that they were teaching it. I had to realize that this is my school, my education program for my children, and what fits their needs and what fits our lifestyles. And I didn't have to compete with the schools. I didn't have to, if I wanted to, I should have just sent them to school with all these worries I had. So I had to learn that the hard way. Number five, another thing I was trying to keep up with the schools was that my kid didn't have to be at grade level. Your child learns differently from every other child. So when you put a group of 30 kids together in a classroom setting, they are not all at the same grade level. They are some above, some below, and some in the middle. So your child is the same way. They may be above what the schools are teaching for their age range. They may be below. They may be right on point. So one of the benefits of homeschooling is that you get to tailor your education to your child's needs. If your child doesn't understand a certain topic, you can take so much more time to teach that topic. And so what if they're behind, a year behind in math and the kids in the public schools? Or if they're 3 years ahead in reading than the kids at the public school. It doesn't matter because they're not in public school. So I wish that I would have stopped comparing us so much and stopped worrying about what everybody else was doing and just did our own thing. And I hope you guys do that. I hope you guys don't worry about what everybody else is doing and you just focus on your family and your children and what's best for them and what's best for your unit. Because every family is different, every homeschool is different, and do not compete with the schools that are out there, guys, because there's no point. You're gonna take the joy out of your homeschool if you do that, like I did. Number 6, I don't have to teach my child at a very young age how to read and write and do math and all this stuff. You know, if you want to do that and your kid likes it, that's great, but you don't have to. A lot of studies even show that some kids shouldn't even be taught how to read until they're like 8 years old or sit down to do formal education. Now, I wasn't like that. I did teach my son to read at the age of 4, but it was because I felt that he was interested in he wanted to read. He wanted to play Zelda and he wanted to know what it said, and I couldn't sit there all the time to read it to him. And I knew that if he was able to read, it was just going to open up so many doors for him, but I didn't pressure him. It took us I did the teach your child to read in 100 lessons, but it took us, I stretched it out because he was little, until he was ready to continue to learn to read. But guys, don't force your kids at a young age to read and write. They're going to get it. They're going to get it when they're ready. So you can start when you think you're ready, but they don't have to do workbooks at 2 years old, at 3 years old, or even at 4 years old. Like I said, if that's your style of teaching, that's fine, but it's not necessary. They can learn through play. They can learn. My toddler, who's 2, she knows all her colors and shapes, and she speaks very, very clearly. She speaks like she's 3 or 4. If you guys have seen my videos, you know. And that's not from me sitting down and doing anything formal with her. That's from songs and playing and even TV. Like sometimes, because I have my 2 other children I have to homeschool, and sometimes she just won't let me get a lesson in, so I'll put on an educational program, and like Umizoomi, which is her absolute favorite, and she'll learn her colors and her shapes from there. So I didn't have to sit her down with a book and flashcards and stuff like that. She learned everything she learned without any flashcards, no sit-down lessons at all. Number 7, I don't need to be out of the house every day to keep my kids socialized. If you guys have seen my previous video on socializing your homeschoolers, you'll see different ways that you can have your kids making friends. I don't like the term socializing your homeschoolers. It's silly to me. But I had to realize that my kids didn't need to be out of the house every single day or have a play date every single day. I was just trying to burn myself out, feeling like, oh, they're not getting enough time with their friends. It's really not that serious, guys. So just take it easy. I think you should just take everything easy and calm and just go with the flow, and everything's gonna be okay. Number 8, I wish I knew that I didn't have to figure it out all right away. I didn't have to figure out my yearly schedule. I didn't have to figure out what curriculum I was using or what subjects I was teaching or what days we were gonna have off. I didn't have to have the perfect homeschool right away. And honestly, the perfect homeschool for me came this year in my 5th year of homeschooling, and it still needs some tweaking. There's still things I want to change, and it's going to be forever changing as my kids get older and as they change. But it took a long time for me to get to where I am now. A lot of practice. A lot of times I wanted to send my kids to school because they were driving me insane, or they weren't doing what I thought that they needed to be doing or what was expected of them. I learned that I had to just chill. I had to relax. I had to slow down, and I had to follow their lead a little bit and get them used to the structure of the homeschool life before. And number 1 thing that I learned was to be consistent. I wish I knew how important it was to be consistent and do your, once you do figure out your schedule, doing school every day and not giving them too many breaks in the beginning until they're used to their life as a homeschooler. And number 10, last thing I wish I knew when I was homeschooling is that to enjoy it. I wish I would have enjoyed it more from the beginning when my 10-year-old, gonna cry, when my 10-year-old was 5. I wish that I just did it differently. I do, and I can't go back and change it, but I can change it for my other 2. So guys, just get as much advice as you can, you know, watch as many vlogs as you can, and get as much help as you need before you decide to do your homeschooling. And if you're already a homeschooler and you just don't feel like you're at peace with your homeschooling, you don't feel like you're having fun, your kids hate it or you hate it, change things up. It's time for you to take a break. It's okay to take a break and change things up. You can take off a whole month because it doesn't matter. There's no schedule. You know, you can homeschool year round and catch up that time over the summer. But if you're feeling homeschool burnout, or if you feel like you need to change, you're not happy, the kids are not happy, then there's time something needs to change. It might be your curriculum, it might be your schedule, it might be the amount of things you're doing, it might be where you're homeschooling. Maybe your kids aren't happy doing schooling at a desk. Maybe they want to do schooling outside or on the sofa. You know, maybe it's time for you to loosen up, or find whatever it is that's stopping you from enjoying your homeschooling. So anyway, I hope that that you guys have learned something from this, and I hope that I opened your eyes a little bit and put you at ease if you're a new homeschooler or someone who's looking for a change. So those are my top 10 things I wish I knew before I started homeschooling. Don't forget to check out my vlogs on homeschooling, guys, so that you guys can see what it's like in our lessons, with our curriculum, in our daily lives as a homeschooling family. And I also have a ton of other videos, informational videos like this, with questions that you might have. They'll be there. So if there's a video you want to see, post it in the comments below. Until next time, see you later, and thanks for watching.